Well, hello, beautiful. Hear me out, hear me out. The Nazi shooting the Romans from a flying plane. Whoever pitched that idea is a brave person. Indiana Jones is one of the most iconic movie characters and probably the most iconic archaeologist. These movies attracted us with adventures, chases, puzzles, historic places, fascinating locations and a little bit of fantasy and mystery. The fifth movie has every major component, but sometimes it feels forced, just for the sake of legacy. With the previous movie that is considered the worst one, the overall amount of supernatural has increased. Yeah, this is absurd, as well as this, and this. And because of the latest movie I wasn't very excited about this one, to be honest, but still I watched it. After that I made a mistake to check out the first reviews on YouTube, and I was surprised to see how devastating they were. Maybe I've watched another movie, or maybe I'm not an indie fan enough. Therefore, in order not to bend to the opinion of others, I rewatched all movies to write this review. So let's discover together if this is a good movie or not, and solve the puzzle why they do this. I have a confession to make. I have a weak spot for adventure movies. I really enjoy all these travels to jungles or deserts, discovering old civilizations and ancient puzzles, so I may be a little bit biased. I liked watching Indiana Jones movies on TV, and Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie will always have a warm spot in my heart. But to be honest, we haven't had many good competitors lately, only Uncharted and Tomb Raider reboot, and something weaker, vlogs of Dwayne Johnson cruising through the jungle. So it's not a bad thing to watch a real Indiana Jones movie. Please subscribe and share your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Starting way back in 1945, we revisit Indiana Jones' best years when he got to the old castle where Nazis were loading a train with stolen treasures. While he was trying to escape, he meets Nazi scientist who was just talking about a device from the times of ancient Greece that can help you to time travel. The scientist has already obtained the first piece, but Indy steals it and jumps off the train. We jump forward to modern days, where an old but still very fit Indiana Jones is coping with some kind of old age crisis. His best years have passed and his wife left him. Though we can't blame her, he left her twice. But his goddaughter shows up and shakes everything. As usual, when someone appears in your life unexpectedly, he only seems nice, but in reality needs something from you. Helena is a tricky, gambling adventurer. She is involved in a bunch of schemes and needs money, so she tricks Indy to give her the first part of the device. But the Nazi scientist from before appears to follow her, but she escapes. Indy follows her to Morocco, where she wants to sell the device. There we have the best chase scene of the movie. Indy, Helena and their little friend using tuk-tuks to catch up the Nazi scientist. After the scientist escapes, the Indy-Helena team use Antonio Banderas' boat to get to the place where the sunken tablet is, which leads to the second part of the time machine. Indy fights a bunch of eels underwater, just to remind us that he hates snakes, especially underwater.
I hate snakes, Chuck! I hate them!
The Nazi scientist catches up and demands to translate the tablet. Helena shows her explosive nature when she blows up a boat, after she ditches a Nazi scientist for money. All roads lead to Sicily. Helena and Indiana find Archimedes' tomb, and there the second part of the device. But on the tomb they see propellers and a watch on Archimedes' hand. The Nazi scientist catches up again and finally reveals his plan. He wants to come back in time to kill Adolf Hitler and to become a new Führer with all the knowledge from the future. Which I personally think is a terrible plan, because as changing one thing, all others change as well, and his knowledge becomes irrelevant. So the Nazi put on their uniform and fly through the time portal, which ultimately leads to times of siege in Syracuse rather than 1939. And here we have it. The Nazi is shooting at the Romans, which sounds pretty bizarre, but looks good. Honestly, for the first several minutes I was trying to accept that, but after a while it's okay. Honestly, every Indiana Jones movie has something supernatural. It's not more absurd than a crusader sitting in the cave for 700 years, or a box killing people with fire beams, or ripping people's hearts out. Indiana wants to stay there as he has nothing that holds him, but Helena's one punch brings him home. There he finds his friends and gets back together with Marion once again. Oh, I want to say that Harrison Ford wasn't a sex symbol for no reason. At his age, his body is incredible. In spite of that, his age makes itself felt. He's not so agile, not so fast, and his moves are limited. It's hard for an actor of that age to do such action movies. I want to be honest, it's not a bad ending for a character, but even having the same director, it's not Logan. It's not reimagining the character, but rather bringing him again the same way, but older. Indiana's relationship with his goddaughter isn't some kind of tutoring, but rather an old man stuck with a new-gen kid and whining all the time.
I like the hat, by the way. Makes you look at least 2 years younger.
I noticed a lack of chemistry. I'm glad that they gave some kind of an ending for Indiana Jones. Maybe it's not the best or the one we expected, but it fulfills every necessary aspect for Indy. He saw a real history, he reignited his marriage, and he found some kind of a successor. This movie reminds me of Your Last Day of Vacation. It's sad and you for sure had better days. Helena, on the other hand, differs from the previous Indiana Jones girls. She wants to lead. She doesn't want to tag along. She seems bad as she steals, gambles, makes fake marriages, tricks people and wouldn't mind to lie. But at the same time, she's independent, funny, creative, pragmatic and modern. I still think that she lacks some personal features to lead her own franchise, but she could have easily led an Indiana Jones TV show spin-off. Main argument against her that I heard is that Marion is better, more iconic. I wouldn't argue with that.
They weren't you, honey.
But later, Willie Scott and Dr. Elsa Schneider, they more of a tag-along characters.
At least I'd let you tag along.
Oh yes.
The actress Phoebe Waller-Bridge faces a lot of criticism, but she still did a good job. But not so iconic as Harrison Ford, so if we'll get a spin-off, I wouldn't be furious over a recast. If there were something bad about Matt Mikkelsen, I would have told you. This fella knows how to play bad guys. His Nazi performance is really solid. Doubt that he was born for this role, but he nails it for sure. 5 furs out of 5. It's incredible that they brought back actors from previous movies. John Rhys-Davies and Karen Allen bring back some memories. But Ke Huy Quan is nowhere to be seen. Could have at least given him a cameo. The guy has just won an Oscar. We can't be talking about this movie and not mention the aging of Harrison Ford. By now it's not a new technology, but for me it's the best so far. Maybe it's better than The Irishman and Star Wars because the scene happens at night, but it isn't as disturbing as before. A little scary of what comes next. The effects in general are on a decent level, as it was made by Lucasfilm and Disney, though previous movie and infamous jungle green screen show that Lucasfilm can do shitty stuff. Here, on the other hand, I was not even sure if they were shooting on real locations or it was CGI with the development of virtual production. But it appears that the majority of shots were made on locations. And that is another big plus for the movie, as locations look fantastic. Some children that were sitting behind me were bored at the end, to be completely honest, but this is not for children. This movie is to revisit a beloved character and say goodbye to him. I doubt that people who have never seen Indiana Jones would be 100% satisfied, but fans will at very least get a nice ending for the character. I don't think it's as bad as YouTubers describe it. I enjoyed it. Maybe after a second rewatch I will change my mind, but for now it's definitely worth at least checking out. I rate this 9 out of 12. I rewatched The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and that was total mockery and absurdity. The fifth movie is not perfect, but at least far better than that. I hope that they won't continue to drain this one, and I'm more okay with the spin-off TV show. But I know that at some point they would want to reboot it, and who knows how it will go. Iconic music is the best way to say goodbye, Indiana.